Good morning. So today I'm going to be doing another market open video lesson, and first thing I'm going to do is review my plans real quick, and then I'll pause it till the market opens. So first thing that caught my attention was AETI. It ran nicely yesterday and set a heavy volume traded resistance intraday. The plan is to take a potential starter short into 120 to 130 area. That's after the open, with ultimate risk on 155 from yesterday's previous day high. The reason for my plan is here you have almost 30 million shares traded this day. Or 30.1 million shares, and it topped at 253. And then yesterday, it had this over 30 million shares, and it ran and topped at 155. So in yesterday's spike, this previous resistance was playing a role in that. So yesterday's spike is now proving that 155 is resistance. It could break it, but that's the plan, and you just got losses if it breaks it. Next thing I'm looking at is NVLN. Has a 40 million volume day that topped at 235 and a 35 million volume day that topped at 212 to short into. That's a bounce short setup. Plan is to start in short, very small, as close as possible to 2 area with ultimate risk on 235 initially. So what I'm talking about, if you go to 3 months, you see these 2 volume days here, but if you go out more, there's not really much volume traded on the chart. So when you zoom in here, you see that these days 40 million shares of volume, and this one is 35 million shares of volume. So these 2 key resistance levels play a role in today's price action. 235 and this was 212. So these are key levels if it spikes today. And already it's kind of failing in pre-market, but this could be just a short trap. Hopefully it spikes after the market open. But you can see, so it topped at 235 and 212. The plan is to short small as close as possible to 2 areas. So this needs to spike more, maybe possibly to 190 or 210, and that's the potential small starter entry with ultimate risk on 235 initially. So 235 is the top of this 40 million shares volume, and the reason why that's my risk is because I'm going to pick the wider risk on the initial starter, so that if it does have to break 212 and fail, I'm not getting shaken out for no reason. And once you get that confirmation, that's your ideal place to add. So these are my 2 watches, NVLN, AETI, and they all depend on how they open in the market open, and I don't have shares for either, so I'm just going to watch and analyze them. So as we see here, AETI is in the 130s after the open. We have some volume coming in, and we just got to see if it's going to be able to continue. Here we see NVLN is already failing. I'm really hoping this kind of holds this 125. On the lower priced ones, like a dollar stock, the quarter dollars are relevant, like the half dollars. On the more expensive ones, like $3 stock and $3.50, $3, those are important levels. On a $1 stock, you got $1, 125, 150, 175. Those are kind of key levels because 50% is a little too big for like a big range for a small price stock. So here's NVLN, and it's kind of failing, but it's holding on, so hopefully it gets a nice run. And AETI pushed to 130s, 140, and it's starting to fail. I mean, that was the plan, to take a starter here, and that's okay, but you didn't really get a chance to add yet, and if you don't, then it's okay. You take profits on the small side. NVLN didn't fall apart completely, so that's good. It's holding up. Let's see if this 150 gives it a momentum kind of spike to possibly 175 at least, but I'm still hoping for it to get to 190, possibly into 2 area, but it could start failing here because we do have a lot of resistance from these 2 days here. So let's just see how it acts at this 150. I'm not really tempted to short at all here because it's too low max you can make if you time it perfectly is like 35 cents, 40 cents. That's not what you should aim for, because if you're aiming for $1 and you take 30, 40 cents, that's good. But if you're aiming for 30, 40 cents, you're going to end up taking 5 cents, 6 cents. It's not going to really do anything for you. So you really want to wait for that push. The overreaction is the best way to better time your entry. On both sides, even like panic dip buys on the longs is a good overreaction to take advantage of. Whenever there's traders going through heavy emotions and they're fearful for losing their money, that's when you got to take advantage of it, because that's when the odds are in your favor. AETI not really doing anything either, but it's still not failing, so that is a good sign. Here's MVLN coming up to 150. Let's see how it acts. Not really telling anything here. There's some buyers, but like I don't really put too much emphasis on the size here because a lot of them are hiding that. 150 so far seems to be rejecting, but here we go. It's over 150 again. So this is going to be a little choppy over under, and if you didn't know what I meant before by over under, now you're going to start to see it here. It's going to go over 150, back under, so it's kind of self-explanatory, but it keeps doing it over and over, and then eventually picks a side based on who's more fearful. Is it the shorts that are more scared, or the longs? Based on yesterday's action, it should be the shorts that are scared, but based on the daily chart, the longs should start to get scared if it gets up to 180, 190, because the odds of it breaking these low twos is almost impossible unless today's volume is like 60 million shares, or it's a low volume grind all the way up. Then that's possible, but the odds are much more in the favor of shorting if it does spike. So it's over that 150. At first you saw it going 151, then back to 149, 152, then 148. That's where a lot of people get trapped, and that's where a lot of people cut losses by accident most times. So that's why those key levels play a role in the price action. ATI, I mean, it is kind of grinding and holding, so that's not really a good sign for shorting, but this is the price area near 140 that you want to take that entry with a limited risk of 15 cents. It would have been much better if this opened at like 110 and then spiked to 140, but we'll just see how the outcome is, and I'm going to write the notes for that and see how it plays out in the future. And here's that like priority list again. So NVLN is my top potential short, and that's because the volume 40 million and 35 million. And then AETI, their resistance volume is not as high, so that's why it's my second priority. But we'll just see. And if it breaks yesterday's high, starts running a little more, then you could make the plan to short into this 253 area. But if it breaks that high, you're not going to sit there and hold and hope. You're getting out. You're cutting losses there if you're short. So let's see how this is acting. Because it opened in the 130s, it may be able to break the previous day high much easier. So let's see where it opened. Yeah, it opened 125. So because it already opened up, it may give some push, but we got to see. This is the overextended gap down play. It is overextended, but there has been more overextensions, so it's not the perfect play here either. NVLN, it's back under 150. Got to see how that acts. It's just gonna chop around here. That's what I think for a while, at least. So I'm gonna pause this, and like it looks like it's starting to hold 150, but you never know right now. It's just consolidation. So I'm gonna pause this until some more volume starts coming in or something starts moving. It looks like this might actually. It's trying. Very weak. I'm hoping they both spike more, but yeah, this AETI is just up and down in these areas here. The longer this holds, the less odds it'll be for shorting, because that just means it's consolidating and it could have potential for a spike. But again, the longer it holds under this 155, the higher odds it fails as well. I'm going to pause this until something does something more important. This type of consolidation is a little important because, I mean, it's not really important for the trade yet, but it's important to know that it's not really a good time to short, specifically because, alright, you got the volume in the morning, and now the volume's dropping, but the price is staying where it is. So that's a good example of consolidation, or the neutralizing in the price. So if you have questions about price neutralizing, it's basically consolidation, but it's a little more complicated than that. I might consider making a video in the future on that. But yeah, so this is holding. It could be showing that it might have another leg up, but the market's down, so it might struggle to do that. AETI is still just consolidating. It's holding higher lows. If I was short this, it's not really the ideal setup anymore because it's consolidating and just coming up towards the highs slowly. But you need more spiking. This is not really what to look for. NVLN looks like it might do something. See now, whichever way it breaks out of this range is like really where the momentum's going. So if it gets back over these 160s, we could see a nice morning push to short into. So now see how it's coming down under this consolidation. Now it's showing some weakness. If you did short here in this area, then you're sitting on a little cushion here, but if it starts to panic, that's where the real profits come in. After this crack, this is kind of a confirmed weakness, so if you were like scared to short in this area, you could be looking for a pop and then short, risking the top of this area, because this is kind of a sign of confirmed weakness, but you still don't know if it's going to hold the lows. So you want to size in small if you get a pop, and if it keeps spacing near the lows, near 140, that's where you look to take your profits. And if it starts going past your risk, that's where you're cutting losses. So let's see what this does. It could crack the low here, but we got to see how it's acting. So this is definitely a sign of confirmed weakness, by the way. So you always want to keep this in mind. You get a big red candle breaking under consolidation. The volume's increasing on the selling too, so that could play a role in why this starts panicking. You can see the sellers here piling up. The buyers are thin, but there's still some support in it, so we got to see how this is acting now. It's already traded 4.6 million volume today. When there is volume, it is much easier for stocks to crack support and break resistance also. Looks like it's just holding out for dear life. I'll continue recording if this perks or fails or something. So if you did decide to take this short into this spike, that's completely okay, as long as you know which risk you're risking on and you've tested that risk. But for me, my A+ setup is to have it run into previous volume resistance levels, and that's the setup I've tested, and that's what I'm comfortable with. So if you took that, congratulations, and it's coming down nicely, decently, but we still got to see if the lows hold here. Also, since the market's coming down, that could be playing a role in this like pullback. So you don't want to take this as a wrong lesson next time. You don't want to start shorting every 30-cent spike on a $1 stock. You want to make sure that that's the setup that's working. So if you start seeing that the market's changing and it's only giving a small pop on the open, then you could be more inclined to take an even smaller starter and have that wider risk initially until you're comfortable with the setup. Now it's coming towards this low. Let's see how this is acting now. We have some buyers. Can they get taken out? Gotta see. This 140 is just stuck here, so you can ignore it. We're looking at, this is the best level of buyers. Look at that. Let's see if this wall can get taken. So far it's trying, but we know these stocks. Let's see. 135 that's what we're looking at right now. We need to see that crack. So all these coming in to cushion it, they're just trying to save the price. It could be people that are actually interested in buying it, or it could be just people trying to screw with it. Doesn't matter why. You want to really focus on what's going on, not why it's happening. So here's 140. 140s, it looks like these low to mid 140s is going to be the problem area for it to spike, and then the low to mid 130s is going to be the problem area for it to panic. So those are the levels we're watching right now. $140 is not letting up on the seller side. We're starting to see some orders taking place on these 140s, and they're not really budging. Oh, well, now 141's here. With NASDAQ stocks, you can't really put too much emphasis on the level 2. That's why I'm not really in detail explaining what's going on, because it doesn't really matter. It's just showing you the trend and what key levels may play a role in it. So that range, 135 to 145, is the key struggle area. If it's over 160 or the high a day, that's when the momentum's changing and going to long. Gotta see. The volume has to perk also, obviously. If it starts breaking this, you need bigger volume, because think of the 600,000 shares that were traded in this level. How are they going to be acting if it's back at their level? Are they stuck in? Are they bag holding? Or is it shorts that are still scared and they want to start covering? That's why the level 2 is important. Not for key like cent areas like it would be on the OTC stocks. See here, if you miss the first push, then this could be a potential pop to add into. To start into. You could short in these 140s, this area, with your risk on that 155. What is it? 158. Yeah, the 158 here. So you have limited risk. If you short right here, you have, like, let's say you hit the bid, you have 11 cents of risk. It's not bad. That's good. And the potential for downside, as we see from yesterday, if it cracks this area, it could come down to 111s or one area, but I wouldn't really count on that. It would be in this 115 area. That'd be your cover goal. You're not going to hold all the way till it retraces. But you also use the buyers as a guide on where it's bottoming and stuff like that. So yeah, this pop, decent potential starter, risking this. Can it do it? It's rolling back over. If it gets onto these 140s, it could turn ugly. People are having faith in this 140 area. So longs right now, if they're freaking out, their really last hope right now is that these big buyers start to hold. But if they're fake, that's when you start seeing the fear set in. It looks like today what's going to happen is once I stop this video, NVLN's going to crack. But I'm trying my best to catch it on video. Here we see this 140 coming in again. What is it going to do? now we're paying attention to if any sellers are hitting these 140s and how they're acting. So a seller hit the 140 and then a bigger 140 came in, and now the buyers are dropping off. So okay, here we go. We're going to start seeing some fear possibly. These 130s, everybody's watching it right now. If you're short, you're watching it. If you're long, you should not be long, but if you're long, you're watching it. Come on. You never realize how hard it is to catch live price action until you try doing it. The 140s that were on the buyers, this 140 is fake, by the way. You could tell because it's not supposed to be here, just out of common sense. But this 140 is on the sellers. They're here after being on the buyers. So this is showing that some people that were faking their buy orders are now on the sellers. But again, you get this back and forth here. This is NASDAQ stocks. You have to be able to be patient and sit through some chop now and then. But when you have this declining volume, as it's not panicking or spiking, it's considered to be price neutralizing. So this could end up just staying here for the rest of the day, or it could panic as soon as I stop recording. Yeah, but it looks like I'm going to call it a video. That's it, because ATI, not really the setup I was looking for anymore. Just grinded up, held, not really good. NVLN, it did give some opportunity, and if you're in it short, then you should be still watching it, and there is still a possibility for profit opportunity. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not gonna continue watching this because it could end up just doing nothing. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for, I have a really insane video coming up, and I hope that you all like it. So thanks for watching, and take care, everyone. Trade safe, study hard.